Hello and welcome. Thank you for joining us for the third University Human Rights Debate. This debate is brought to you courtesy of the United Nations Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights. This debate is held as we prepare to commemorate the International Human Rights Day that's celebrated every year on the 10th of December. I'm your host, Iguma Gabriel. We started off with 8 universities. Of the 8 universities, we've had 2 debates. 2 universities have made it to the semi-finals and 2 universities have dropped off. Today, we find out the 3rd university to progress. Allow me to invite Makerere University. Makerere University will be versing Uganda Christian University. These debates are meant to give you more knowledge, to give everybody more knowledge on human rights. Today we have judges that will be judging on specific things that they will let us know. So I will introduce the judges, and then the judges will tell us what their yardsticks will be for today's debate. Our first judge is Deborah Oyela. Next to Deborah is Judge Sandra Mwesije. And finally, Judge Eli Kasirie. Our judges, you are very welcome. In order to ascertain who will propose or oppose the motion, we will toss a coin, and whichever side wins it will choose what side of the debate they take. Are we ready? Heads or tails? Heads? It is heads. What side of the motion will you take? Proposition. Propose, you come to this side of the house. Makerere, you take the other side of the house. Our motion today. Uganda has done more than enough to ensure that women are in positions of power. It is now for the women to take advantage of these avenues. Judges, what will you be looking out for as we debate this topic?
Thank you very much, moderator. And I would like to welcome the debaters. And the judges are going to be looking for ability to adhere to the guidelines. We need originality in your arguments. We'll be looking for eloquence, your verbal and non-verbal communication, that is your eye contact, body language, facial expressions. We'll be looking for your skills in argumentation. Are your ideas clear and well articulated? We'll be looking for easy to follow arguments. And are you addressing the topic? Are you mentioning current issues? Do you include the law and illustrative examples or facts? And do you offer any recommendations as well? And obviously, engagement with the audience. I wish you good debating.
Thank you very much, our judges. We'll have our introductions, and I will start with the proposers. Extreme end first.
I'm Aruo Eunice Akidi, Uganda Christian University.
Welcome.
And I'm Samuel Patrick, Uganda Christian University.
Welcome. Opposers, extreme end.
Buregeya Rodney Ediga, Makerere University, Kampala.
Called Desima Hope, Makerere University, Kampala.
All right, thank you very much. The 4th World Conference, held in Beijing, China in 1995, was dubbed Women in Power and Decision Making. This brought the issues of women to the forefront worldwide. Since then, Uganda has taken strides, has come up with policies to ensure that women attain their full potential. One of the things, representation in parliament. In fact, Uganda has done more than many African countries, achieving around 32% of female representation. This House today will discuss. Uganda has done more than enough to ensure that women are in positions of power. It is now time for women to take advantage of the avenues. We'll start with the proposers.
Yes, thank you for the opportunity. Yeah, it's time for Uganda to take it's time for women to take the avenues that are there. Basing on the motion, Uganda has done more than enough to ensure that women are in positions of power. Not everyone understands who a woman is. I'd love to start by describing who a woman is. A woman is a female adult. And an adult is a person, basing on the Ugandan law, a person beyond the age of 18 years. And power cannot only be political. Power is social, economical, and political. Though basing on the motion, we are going to base on mainly political, while bringing in maybe the economic aspects. And then we shall mainly look at the Constitution. Article 1 of the Constitution states that all power belongs to the people. It does not differentiate whether people are men or women. In that case, the Uganda that we are in today gives more options for women to take up various positions in power. And that brings in the aspect of the legal rights that are granted to the women, and mainly basing on the advancing of women's rights. And I would love to mainly cite the Section 56 of the Employment Act of 2006, which grants the women the maternity leave. You find that brings the women to take more part in that when a woman gets pregnant and she's granted the leave, and after that leave, she's able to go back to her job. How does that bring the women in power? That brings in the women in power economically. A woman is able to work in that sense. She's able to retain her position, and in that case, she will always develop and gain more power, not only economically. She can come back and get the political aspect also, because for you to gain the political, you need to always have the economic bit of it. And the other aspect is in Article 33 of the Ugandan Constitution of 1995.
All right. Your time is up. Thank you very much. We'll go to the first opposer.
Thank you very much. First, let's first look at the question again. It says Uganda has done more than enough. That is where I want to base. We are not saying Uganda hasn't done anything, but is it more than enough? I want to take you back to some few steps in history. When Idi Amin came into power, he tried to put women on the forefront, but due to the court martial he had, the court martial decided that women should be in the what? In the kitchen. Looking at also the other international documents, which Uganda is a signatory to, most of these documents are sexist. We shall look at the UDHR. UDHR, Article 1.
What is the UDHR?
The Universal Declaration of Human Rights. It says that all human beings are free and equal in dignity and right. They are endowed with reason and conscience and should act towards one another in the spirit of brotherhood, not sisterhood. You get? Still, if at all the documents which Uganda follows, it themselves are sexist, how much has Uganda done? Let's go worldwide. Statistics today show that 5% of CEOs in Africa, 5% of CEOs in Africa are female. How many of those are Ugandan? Try to do some research. And still, but if at all we are to base on the status of Uganda today, the presence of customary law, all customary laws and the presence of different cultures. However much Uganda has tried to indoctrinate and come and make up different laws, still culture surpasses. The status of Uganda today is more based on cultures, and cultures lead in the moral upbringing of people. Today, to bring up a girl child, you need to first consult the elders. They say that the children are for the community. How much has Uganda government done? Is it enough to say that the status of the female or the women today has been elevated? Uganda recently, in 2010, it came up with the Domestic Violence Act. It is still a policy. It is not yet in the law. It's still being bettered. The Marriage and Divorce Bill, which would have helped the women, is still in debate in the parliament. And nothing has yet been done. And also...
Your time has been exhausted. Those were your 3 minutes. However, you have a minute to ask the first proposing debater a question.
Do you believe that gender equality can help solve the problems that the women in Uganda are facing today?
Yes, I believe it can solve, because it is women best to deal with women issues. When you bring a man to deal with women issues, he cannot know what exactly they are doing.
Before you go further, can you please help me and
Yes.
define gender equality?
Gender equality. There's gender equality and gender equity.
Gender equality.
Okay. Gender equality is where women and men are brought to the same position to access the same resources.
Thank you
and
very much.
everything
Do you
at the
believe
same
that
level.
the status of women, the nature of women, do you believe that if at all we are to accord the men and the women the same values, the same rights, or the same addressing of their issues, do you believe that gender equality can still solve the problem of women?
Yes.
Remember, women have their biological
Your
status.
time is done. You've used
Yes.
most of your time actually
All right.
answering than asking.
Now, let me answer your question, the last question you asked. Women can always attain the equality. It's a problem of the community attitude. Well, it is the community attitude that is lagging us behind. That is why you are arguing out that women cannot attain equality. When the community comes up and says women cannot, but once the community changes their attitude, women can attain equality.
All right. Time for your question.
My question, I would love to address it's like an embattlement on brotherhood. Brotherhood means both, not only men. As you are saying, it does not mean sisterhood.
And so your question?
No, it's not my question.
All
I was
right.
embattling on
All
what
right.
you were
And
saying.
now your question?
My question
If
is,
any.
I just want to rebut on what he said. Most of the things he said. Most of the domestic issues that are there, why they have not maybe passed the Domestic and Relations Act, is because the Succession Act is there and it is addressing most of the issues on that.
All right.
Yes.
Both of the first speakers have used their time. We'll go to the second proposing speaker.
Okay, thank you much. Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator. I would want to start with a quote. Now, ladies and gentlemen, men of quality do not fear equality. Ladies and gentlemen, as the government of Uganda, as the people of Uganda, because when we say Uganda, we don't only mean the government. We mean the people, we mean the men, we mean the women, we mean the children. I'll start with a bit of statistics. Now, we all know, according to the Uganda National Bureau of Statistics report that came out early this year, more than 50% of the people in this country are youth. If actually to add the women, it gives us up to around 70%. Now, I believe that the best person to handle the issues of the children or the young are the mothers, ladies and gentlemen. Now, that is why on that front, President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni in 1989 came up with the gender quotas policy. Now, what does this one bring forth to us? It brings forth the policy that in every electoral constituency, we should have a female member of parliament. Reason being, the women were being looked at as the minority group. What it seeks to rebut, or what it seeks to curb, are the provisions that were brought in by our history. Now, when it actually talks about culture, culture is actually a very, very good fabric. Now, you cannot go ahead and separate the law from morality. They're almost entwined to one another. If in your culture they say it's bad to kill, in the law it's actually bad to kill. Only that maybe with the law it will be accompanied by a sanction. The first member of the opposition team did talk about, or did mention, the idea of the percentage of female CEOs in Africa, but I want to bring it back home in Uganda. Honorable Alitwala Kadaga, the Speaker of Parliament, was the first lady to start up a law firm in this country. Right now we have so many. I personally happen to work with Bull and Maiga. The current managing partner of this firm is Ms. Lydia Nabale, and so much more. We have so many women in power. Doris Akol, URA, Madam Jennifer Musisi, KCCA. We have Madam Allen Kajina, UNRA, and all these bodies are working to perfection. All this the government has done. different bodies. Now, when I actually go back to the people, I'll talk about the civil society organizations. Let's look at ACFOD, for example. It was commemorating 30 years of its existence, and it held a debate. Knowledge was shared. Young men got to understand that, no, you don't have to shun your sisters. You don't have to limit them to a small corridor. Because if you educate a woman, if you empower a woman, then actually do empower a nation. Now that's where we can actually that's where we actually get into the point of the government having done enough. Article 78 puts women in parliament. Article 33 creates an equal balance, an equal equilibrium for both to compete. Now it comes to the women. Some are already doing it. As I said, ACFOD is there. FIDA is doing its job. So many cases have been presented in court in favor of women. We've had something on domestic violence. Now we had Mufumi. That was resolved this year.
Unfortunately, you're out of time.
In regard to bride price. Yes, thank you.
It's just 3 minutes. Use your 3 minutes wisely. The second opposing debater.
Thank you very much, moderator. On the international, regional, and national level, Uganda is one of the countries to have registered progressive legislation in the promotion and protection of fundamental human rights. First and foremost, I want to disagree with this statement. Uganda has not done more than enough. I agree that Uganda has taken some step towards the achievement of the empowerment of women. If we would see in the pre-colonial period, both in the pre-colonial, colonial, and the post-independence time, we see women were suffering. During the regime of the current regime of President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, we see has done something in empowering women, but it is not enough. I want to clarify to the audience that Uganda has not done more than enough. We are seeing many loopholes in what Uganda has tried to do as far as empowerment of women is concerned. We see inadequate access to education. They are telling us, the government is telling us that they have put up UPE schools for universal primary education. I'm wondering how many girls that complete P7. UPE schools are so rare in rural areas. You find you have to walk more than 10 kilometers to reach a school, and the government is telling me that it has tried to make the women access education. I totally disagree with that. Another point is the accessing of healthy services. Uganda is saying that it has tried to empower women in as far as maternal leave are concerned. We are having massives of the women who are not even employed. Here, their homes, they are engaged in the private sphere. In the private sphere, where the women are caretakers of children, welcoming visitors, and all that, they don't have access to that. They're employed, and you're telling me maternal leaves for those who are working. I totally disagree with you. I want to clarify to the audience that the government has not done more than enough. My fellow colleague was saying that the customary laws are entwined with the Uganda Constitution. They are entwined together. You find the law is in line with the morality, but this is not the case. We still have cases where the FGM is still practiced, especially in the eastern region and the border of Kenya. FGM is still prevailing.
All right, your time is up. Your time is up. Your time is up. I'll give you a second because you have a chance to ask the second proposing speaker a question.
Thank you very much, moderator. I would like to ask the proposers. He has said customary laws are entwined with the law. I want you to clarify on that.
Okay, thank you, madam. Now, me talking about customary law and the law. Allow me to rephrase, or allow me to state what I actually said to the August House. I said the law and morals are not far. Now, the morals in the African community come from our cultures. That's why I said the law and morality are not far apart. They may not be the same, but they're not far apart. You cannot front the laws without the morals, basically. That's it.
Excuse me. When addressing the issue of women in the current traditional setting of today, the Baganda believe that the woman is supposed to be subordinate to the man. When you're addressing the issues of the upbringing of women, what do you base on? Do you base on customs or you base on the law that is present? Remember.
All right, no, that's the question. Law or custom?
Well, allow me quote a section as I get to answer that. Article 2, Clause 2. Any law that's inconsistent with the Constitution is invalid. So all laws can actually apply to the level of that inconsistency. And when you actually say
what he's saying in this case is that custom is the one that's inconsistent with the Constitution.
Yes,
and therefore
that's what
custom
you're
that you are
saying.
using should be struck down.
We're saying that customs are entwined with the law, which is not the case.
Ladies and gentlemen, quote me right. I said morals and the law are entwined.
And I'm talking about customs.
Just a sec.
Could I?
Yeah.
Yes. The law and morals are not far from one another. Now, what I've been laboring to air out to the August House is that the laws in the African community come from our culture. I'm sorry, the morals in the African community do come from our cultures. However, what I'm putting forth is not culture and the law. Get me right. What I'm putting forth is morality and the law. The two are not far apart.
Okay. Thank you very much. I have a question for you, a very direct question. Men and women in Uganda, are they at the same level?
I'm going to answer this in yes or no, and the question is no.
The answer is no.
The answer is no.
If they are not at the same level, shouldn't the government do a lot more, even beyond what they have already done, in order to ensure that there's parity?
Thank you very much. Now, in regard to that, I believe the government has done a lot. Okay. Now, when you actually say it's now for the women to take up the mantle and get to these avenues. That's when the people have to come in. That's when the civil societies have to come in. And I've said some civil societies actually coming in. Akford was founded by a lady. We nicknamed her Mama Akford. They're actually women who are using these avenues for the common good.
Okay.
Miss Alishwala Kadaga, and I mentioned quite a number of others.
All right.
Yes.
All right. Thank you very much. Government has done almost everything it can do in order to ensure that women are represented, that actually women access power. 1.5 given to girls so that they can access university education. Special seats in parliament so that women can be represented in parliament. Should government now go and get them and force them into these positions?
Want to reply by saying, they are saying that Uganda has done more than enough.
Yes.
You get my point?
Yes.
But the fact is, it has not actually, I think it is like on the first step.
When you were joining Makerere University, did you get an extra 1.5?
I think I got it, but how many girls reached Makerere University?
Precisely. Government has given you that opportunity. You are not taking.
Yes,
you
it
are
has
not taking
given me the
advantage of the opportunity.
but it has not done more than enough.
We appreciate the government has done something. It formed the Ministry of Women Affairs. Current statistics show that...
I think you mean gender.
Sorry, gender affairs. Okay, thank you. But statistics show that this ministry receives the least amount of money in the Ugandan budget. If I told you to look at the recent population, shows that women are more than the men. If I told you're giving this ministry, which addresses more of the women issues, less money, and then you give more money to the what? To the military. How enough is that?
The military has both men and women.
But still, it does not address specifically.
Okay.
Generated
All right.
issues.
I would now like to come to both sides. You have 1 minute to make your closing argument. 1 minute. Use it very wisely.
Okay, thank you so much. My closing argument is on the custom. The 1902 order in council stated that for the custom to be valid, it should be morally acceptable and consistent with the norms in the society. And also Article 2, Clause 2, if any other law or any custom is inconsistent with any of the provisions of this Constitution, the Constitution shall prevail and the other law or custom shall be extant, inconsistency, be void. So in that case, there is no custom that can be recognized and it is not morally acceptable.
All right?
Yes.
Your closing argument?
Thank you very much, moderator. I would close the argument by giving recommendations to the government of Uganda. The recommendation for the government should take measures to ensure effective implementation of Domestic Violence Act, where the necessary budget on allocation scheme should be adopted without delay. The government should enforce the prohibition of the female genital mutilation through prosecution of the intergovernmental cooperation. The government should also ensure women's access to justice by adopting measures, including the cost of criminal investigation and failures in the correction of the forensic evidence. The government should also ensure women and girls access education and basic health services. Uganda has not done more than enough. Thank you very much, moderator.
All right, thank you very much for your arguments. It's now for the judges. Have you been convinced by the arguments? Over to you.
Wow, it has been interesting listening to you, and we want to thank you for your efforts. We noted a few things that I think we need to improve. We noted that some of you have been reading from your scripts. You're not keeping eye contact, and but generally you adhered to the guidelines, some, and eloquence and skills in argument. So today, the judges have decided that the best university to proceed will be UCU. Makerere was let down by a few ideas that we noted that needs to be improved. You were actually not confident. You kept on, you were not so much accurate. You gave examples which are misleading. For example, you said the law is not practical, is not practiced, and you give an example of FGM, which is not even in the law. You gave issues, you gave many ideas, but at the end of that day, you kept on repeating yourselves. So we realized that UCU was on point, and they used their time very well. They are eloquent, they are confident, they engaged the audience very well, and at one time they captured everyone. So thank you so much.
Thank you. There's still a word from the judges.
I want to say that gender equality is not the easiest for all of us. Even us who are doing implementation, it's also very, very difficult to achieve. However, if you look at Uganda's legal system, we have very beautiful laws. Implementation is still a problem. We have laws covering almost everything you are speaking about. If you look at our constitution, affirmative action, I studied on 1.5 at the university. We have an Equal Opportunities Commission that is still fighting inequality between men and women. We have the Ministry of Gender, yes, but with very little money. But we hope with time it will get better. They don't only do women, but they also do youth, they also do children. And yes, with very little money, and that is lack of political will. Hopefully with advocacy from CSO. Earlier on we talked about CSO doing very little. CSO does the checks and balances on those kind of things. And then also, gender is also a planning tool. That's why sometimes you see you cannot get funding if you don't have gender in your planning. So we have cultures that are deeply embedded that we need to fight. And what we can promote are the positive ones, like allow girls go to school. But we also have to discourage the negative ones. And gender, and culture, culture is, it evolves, it changes with time, okay? In northern Uganda, women cannot practically own land because of the customary land system, which is patrilineal in ownership. But they can use. 80% of women access land, but you cannot own because of the system, okay? So all that is still what? Culture. But how do you work in the framework, in the framework of that culture, the way it is, to ensure that women are brought on board?
All right.
So what do? We have what we call male engagement system, where we bring the men to advocate for the women. Because before you are trying to make sure that the girl child is up, how about the boy child? Okay? Then we also have what we call human rights-based approach to programming. This one we've been doing it with civil society and government. And we train them on how to make sure that when they're doing their work, participation of women, children, everybody is necessary. Then non-discrimination is also very, very important under human rights-based approach. Non-discrimination means that whatever it is you're doing in the community, let it be a meeting, whatever it is, women have to be involved. Women and men equally. Equal access to resources. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much, our judges. Thank you to our audience here at the Wizards Media Studio, and thank you to you who is watching us from home. Would like to congratulate Makerere University for putting up a spirited fight, and would like to congratulate Uganda Christian University for making it to the next round. We have one more debate to show us who will be in the semi-final. We hope you'll catch it. Let's continue to observe human rights. God bless you.